Higher voltage.
Yes, sir. It's Higher Voltage Podcast. We in the building. Got a special guest, Anthony Davis, aka Swamp Willie. What's good?
Carl Rancher's in the building. Carl Rancher's in the building.
And I was checking out the book, man. Sentenced to Life, right here, man. Let the people know a little bit about your background before we talk about the book and the story. Let the people know about your background, where you come from, where you started at, and like how you was raised.
I'm out of Carl Rancher's. They're known now as West Park. Growed up there. I did a lot of my younger days fishing, going to the park, hanging out with the GJs, my friends, and more or less trying to make it, hustling.
Right.
Taking one step at a time.
Definitely.
But I grew up too fast, and I came to the point to learn. My dad always used to tell me, nothing's worth your freedom, boy.
Right.
And now I realize that nothing's worth your freedom. For all the youths out there, for all the young girls, there is nothing worth your freedom. Nothing on this earth. And I like to tell each and every last one of y'all, crime did not pay.
Right.
Look at me, 41 years in prison, and every day I hated. But through the grace of God, I'm here.
Most definitely. So let's tell people about the story. So like going back, because this happened fairly early as a teenager. I see as at 14, it first into that space where you caught that charge. So let the people know about like around the situation, like basis upon like you catching that charge and like being introduced to the prison world.
I was direct file, as you know. I was 14 years old when I did my crime.
Okay.
I turned 15 February 6th. I got sentenced February 26th, 20 days later. They direct filed me. My attorney talked me into a plea. He was playing to me like, Anthony, they can't keep you until you're 21. So regardless of what the sentence say, 21, they got to release you. That's the impression he gave me. Because if you go to the transcript, you see I'm always stop. I didn't know what life sentence was. I mean, straight up. I didn't know what concurrent was. I didn't know what consecutive was. So each part of the process, they had to stop. And I went behind the scenes. My lawyer, he always gave me a story. So I get in front of the judge, so you understand? I say, no, Your Honor, I don't understand. So it was a big conflict, and all of it inside the transcript. And you'll see that they had a young black kid, told him later, I couldn't read or write, they took advantage of.
Right.
I was coerced and taking a sentence that nobody in their right mind would have took,
But the lawyer was telling you that you would get out at 21. So you still was kind of under the impression that I'm still get out when I'm 21, so I'm listening to him, kind of, right?
Yeah, that's what I was doing. That's what I'm trusting.
Right.
I'm trusting the person that this court appointed me to represent me. Not only that, HRS, back then, Children, Family, Friendly Children, they supposed to be in there too at my hearing. They didn't even show up. They're nowhere on the records. That's a whole different proceeding because Chapter 39-1111C says suitability or non-suitability shall be determined before any other disposition. Okay. That shows that the judge had to have a hearing on 6 criteria I had to meet. I didn't meet 2 of them. So these says that if the court find the defendant guilty, he must put it in a reason why. None of that's part of the record.
And to my knowledge, at the time you were sentenced, a lot of these laws is not even the same as it is now, like with the 85% of the time and, a juvenile being direct file sentenced to a certain amount of time, like it seems like a lot of stuff changed since then.
One thing I noticed in the law, they make more laws to stop a juvenile from going back to prison and allow us back into prison. Every time I file out my research, I find a good case that's helping me. But I find 3 other cases against it that turn it around, saying it's no good. So that was my wall. The state of Florida was making more laws to keeping us inside than letting us out. And that's
The bottom line.
the bottom line.
So rehabilitation, do you feel like our Florida system services have rehabilitation programs for inmates in once they get out?
No, it's about incarceration, no rehabilitation. Probably years ago in 79 and all that, because you went to school. Now, you must have 5 years or less to enroll in school.
Wow.
If you got a life sentence, you can't get in the food program now. And I taught myself how to read and write in the cell.
That's amazing.
I also used to teach my own class at Florida State Prison.
What was you teaching?
I was teaching slow readers.
Okay.
Because the principal at the time realized that I had a story that would help other people.
Right. They could relate with it.
That's right. And I realized I had to, when you're illiterate, it's an automatic defensive mechanism to be on your defensive.
Right.
And because I was there. You talk about reading and writing, I got my face all balled up.
Like who this think he's smarter than me,
Yeah.
trying to play me.
No,
Yeah.
trying to make me look dumb. But it's just automatic. I realized that I had to teach them to trust me. I had to get them to win their trust. Then I started teaching.
So although you was robbed of your freedom, I want to ask you, like, is it certain things that now that you are out that you feel like now that you sat down that maybe you did learn in there, or like aspects of life? Because we all rather be free than locked up, But sometimes, how fast, because you did say you was moving pretty fast.
Yes, I was.
So we all know the ending term is death or jail. Sometimes, do you ever find yourself in a space that now that you're free, now that you're free, that you look back at it like, certain things did get avoided, or you learned certain things from being in there?
I learned the most important thing I learned about myself.
Okay.
And I spent about 26 years in solitary confinement in a cell by myself. And during those times, I had some ups and I had some downs. But it got to a point where I forgot about what home felt like.
Right.
When I thought about home, I thought about the 4 walls I was in.
Most definitely.
I didn't think about car renters. I didn't think about the house I grew up in. It just faded away. Home was where I was sitting at. So the lines got kind of blurred. I used to go to the window sometimes and just look across the gates. I see my freedom right there, but it was a million miles away. That was the most hurting part of looking out the window.
So did you ever get a space where you felt like you were starting to make yourself mentally prepared to be free, or just like not letting your surroundings or your circumstance like cage the mind? Because if you were able to teach others, at least it seems that at some point you're not letting your circumstance stop you from being productive, learning. It seems that you was able to rise to the occasion and actually teach others if they was intensive reading, and you was able to give them that. Were you able to find some peace in helping them with intensive reading and things like that?
Enjoyed it. Each one I learned, taught a new word. I taught this one guy, he couldn't speak English. In 18 months, I got him to get a GED. That was one of my biggest trophies. Made me feel so proud, that it shook me to my foundation and showed me that God's great and he has no equal, And I love teaching people, man. Right now today, I love helping people. Right. It's just my calling in life.
I was going to ask you that. Do you feel like that's a sense of your purpose in life, to help people?
Yes, it is. Every day. Every morning I get up, I got a support group, a group of people. My age entry one, I say good morning every morning. If it ain't a verse or something I'm gonna sing, it's always something encouraging. because I know I like it. I like the feeling of telling somebody good morning. I like the sense when they hit me back. Hey, good morning, Anthony. What's up, man? Good. You know, that give me purpose in life. That makes me feel good inside that I can greet somebody and tell them good morning.
So support system. We all know once you get locked up and you do more than 3 to 5 years, people disappear within the year or the month. How was it with people coming and going and people just disappearing completely? Like, you know, like the phone calls, the letters, like the holidays.
I realized that you got to have strong ties before you come in. You can't build them while you're in. Right. They got to already be in place. And for me, you got at least about 8 people that stood by me. Everybody else left me for dead.
That's a blessing to have those 8 people though.
Yes, oh my God.
Off and on, hearing that, even just that just is amazing because people really give up after a year or 3, you know. There's too much distractions in the real world to kind of like, you know, stay in touch with people, you know? And I also wanted to ask, by you starting that prison bid, being incarcerated so young, we all look at stuff from TV shows or movies or hear conversations. I want to ask you, as a man who stood 10 toes and just, you know, lived by respect and principles, what is the biggest myth about being incarcerated or being in prison or something? Like what people think is this way, but it's really a whole different kind of way, really behind the scenes.
TV version is no good.
Yeah.
That's fake, for real.
Yeah.
It don't even come close to reality.
Right.
They just putting on a show. When I went in there, everywhere I went, I was the youngest guy around on each compound I stepped on. And the first thing that kept me going is I realized that I don't want to be like none of that I've seen. So I patted myself against everything that I've seen. That's why I'm the way I am. I'm an honest guy. I'm a stand-up guy. And that kept me going. Because what they did, I did the opposite. They stole, I didn't steal. They lied, I didn't lie. You know, they cheated and did all that. I didn't do none of that. You know, at first, I didn't want to go to school. I had a classification officer. She's going to wake me up in the bed in the morning, make me go to school. But when I got the FSP, no telephone, no nothing, I had to take a piece of, when I wrote home to get money from my mom, I took a piece of paper, put dollar signs on the mail at home. She knew I wanted some money. But I had this guy next to me named Robert Jordan. He said, Anthony, he said, man, you got to learn how to read. Ain't no phones here. You know, he sent me a book over there called Black Lady Luck. That's the first novel I ever read in my life.
Say it one more time.
Black Lady Luck. It's a black novel about a woman that went to Las Vegas and she got a winning streak, kept winning. That's the first novel I ever read in my life. Okay. You know, and I never looked back.
Right.
Since then, I done read 75,000 books.
I was just about to say, numerous of books.
I done read about 75,000 books.
Did you ever come across Sister Soldier? Because I remember one time I actually read some of her book one time I was locked up.
Don't she got a rap song out?
I don't know how much she is into the music, but I do remember she was making a lot of soulful books about life and about Black love relationships.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yes, I did. I have read some of her book.
Yeah.
I have read some of her book. But it's a rapper called Sister Soldier. Okay. I think she's Bahamian, but Jamaican or something.
I gotta go tap in. And I've probably seen it before. I gotta tap in.
And she raps. She spits. I'm like, okay. You know.
So even with reading, like in the beginning as you was learning it and then starting to find out the definition to some of these words, like when you were teaching reading, did you ever find yourself in a battle with the classmate, with the students, like just trying to learn while they're learning?
I was already there.
You was already there. Yeah. And what age, if you don't mind me asking, what age were you when you started teaching the class?
19.
That's a blessing.
I was death row runaround, all of it. And I got off, I went to population, I went straight into school. Wow. I took my pre-G test, I did good. The only thing I couldn't do on the pre-G test was write an essay. That's when they first started essay. Right. He gave me a book Tuesday, Thursday, I read it right. And when I wrote my essay on the GED, they gave me a certificate for the best written essay for the state of Florida on GED.
Well, that's what's up, man. Congratulations.
That was
man.
my first essay I ever wrote, and I got a certificate for the best written essay.
That's what's
in the
up.
state of Florida.
It seemed like no matter what, God had his hands on you the whole time. You know, you could have gave up, you could have lost faith. Even you saying that you didn't crash out and you actually start studying and learning to help others at 19. A lot of youth that get in that predicament, being told that they're going to be doing life or PBL, they tend to give up. And you know, we was talking off camera, and you was telling me that, you know, you had your days where you would, you know, give out, crash out energy. Wow. Turning up on the compound.
Real crash dummy.
Right. But it still feel good to meet you because, you know, situations like this, a dude like myself probably would have never met you, you know, because they try to hide us. They send us out of space, you know. So it's an honor to meet you because these situations don't happen a lot. And I just want to say, bless up. You already know, Swamp Willie.
Love that.
You already know, y'all tap into the book, Sentenced to a Life Sentence. You already know the Swamp Anthony story, the 14-year-old kid who spent 41 years, written by A.J. Rodriguez. You already know. That's his mugshot. You already know. Y'all tap in, man. It's Dollar Bill 305. We in here with Swamp Willie. We'll get back to y'all in our next segment. Y'all stay tuned, and it's like that.
So everybody want to know, what is Higher Voltage? Well, it's a platform. We're here to offer services for every upcoming business, every music label, every business, every artist, rapper, singer. Even if you have a product or a merchandise, that's what we're here for. We're here to give you plenty episodes and plenty shows. Y'all like, subscribe, and comment. Dollar Bill 305, Higher Voltage. Let's go.
Higher Voltage.